ahead and start part in the Zoom toolbar. It's the best way I think I found to share it so you can still see my face in the corner. Okay, so I took a look at an article that came about by the BBC on the BBFC, which is the British Board of Film Classification, and they're actually readjusting their rating standards based on language, and specifically racially charged language, but kind of language across the board. What was previously considered, I guess bad, but not bad enough for a more mature rating is now going to be considered bad enough for that more mature rating under the BBFC's rating system. And so what they did basically is they took a study of about 70 people and they showed them a series of older movies that had, things about, racially charged language and language that was, characteristic of the times that these movies are created in. And they asked these volunteers, should we re-rate them? Should we give them warnings? Should we re-rate future film or should we rate future films to be more mature? And the volunteers basically said yes. If I saw this in a modern film, this type of language, I would want it to be at a higher rating, a more mature rating, so I could know, what it contains. So in response, that's what the BBFC decided to do. The chief executive of the BBFC, Dave Austin, said about the change that the use of particularly offensive language will always aggravate an instance of discriminatory or racist behavior. So that's their justification behind changing their rating system to kind of meet these new cultural expectations. So just to take a look at kind of the implications of this, the change made by the BBFC regarding their language is kind of a good sample of what's going on with our language right now. You could refer to it as a postmodern movement. And what postmodernism seeks to do is it kind of seeks to take institutions and reevaluate them according to today's standards. And so it does that with language as well, as we're seeing the BBFC do right now. How does language as an institution, as a system, how does it affect our culture? And how should we change it to better reflect our culture? So that's what we're looking at here. So this is kind of not a good idea just to give, or not a new idea. It's debatable whether or not it's a good idea. It's not a new idea. There's been language restriction historically, like lèse-majesté laws, which have prohibited people from speaking bad about monarchies. What is interesting, though, is that though restrictions have existed that govern relationships between kings and subjects, this intensified analyzing of language on a local level and how this language might oppress is a very new idea, endemic to our age, right? And so there's naturally a lot of significance for linguists. Um, it arises there's some questions that come up in the process of trying to look at what this cultural shift is doing to our language, and some of those questions have become hot topic items in recent years. And one of them is, is there hate speech? Is speech violence? Right? Can speech in and of itself be violence? And then as the vernacular adjusts to meet with the societal expectations, will that change be unprecedented? Basically, as we adjust the way we talk every day, will that be a change that is more dramatic than historical linguistic changes? And then also, can people collectively and specifically actively change their language? In the past, things like distance and space and time have, affected how language evolves, but rarely do we have situations in which an entire society collectively decides, okay, let's change our language like this, right? So naturally, there's a lot of significance for us, no matter your personal preferences um, and personal thoughts on postmodernism. It's a very politically charged thing. It is obvious that there will be effects on language, right? Focuses on hot topics such as hate speech or gender programs have made laymen into linguists, and as people are expected to evaluate their languages more steadily. So yeah, so that's kind of a look at how the BBFC and their rating changes reflect a larger linguistic shift that's going on right now in the world, an effort to change our language to better reflect our culture and better reflect our society.